I'm here with Dr. Jennifer Monahan from the University of Georgia, and Dr. Monahan is going to talk to us today about her research and some suggestions for students interested in communication. Dr. Monahan, how did you become interested in your area of research?
Well, I became interested in interpersonal communication specifically as an undergraduate taking the interpersonal communication course. I had a really terrific instructor who did such a good job all semester long of pointing out, what we thought we knew about communication and then the reality. And oftentimes it was interesting to me that it wasn't so much what people said, but our perceptions and our stereotypes that really dictated what we thought they said in situations. I got interested in research on alcohol and communication specifically based on some research I was doing at the University of Southern California for my graduate work. And I was working with Lynn Carroll Miller on sexual communication, especially risky sex. And I noticed that when we asked people to tell us about the last time they engaged in a risky sexual behavior, how oftentimes alcohol was part of that situation. So they would mention not just that they drank, but that they had 4, 5, 6, 7 drinks. And so I started looking at the literature to see, well, how do alcohol and risky sex go together? And I noticed there wasn't really a lot of research on the topic, and most of it was just surveys asking people, well, how do you think alcohol affects your behavior? And there wasn't a lot of research where we actually gave people alcohol and saw how it affected their behavior and their perceptions. And that's really, I think, what got me started on a program of research I've continued on with through the years.
So if you could tell us some of your most interesting research findings in your program of research, that would be great.
I think when I look at the research I've done with alcohol and communication behavior, sometimes what's really interesting to me is how alcohol doesn't affect most of our communication behavior. It may make us more slurry, it may make it more difficult for us to find the right word, but it oftentimes doesn't change our intent or what we're trying to say. What you see is alcohol affects communication behavior only under really specific circumstances. And those circumstances are when you have a desire to do something, so you really want something, but you have an inhibition about doing it. So for example, imagine that you're home late at night, and you're lonely, and you really want to call your ex. When you're sober, you have that desire to call your ex, but your inhibitions tell you don't do it. You'll hate yourself tomorrow, there's a reason why you've broken up, don't go there. When you're drinking, you have that same desire, I want to call my ex, and you have that same inhibition, but the inhibition is a lot harder to think about and cognitively process. So instead of acting in accordance with your inhibitions, you act in accordance with your desire, so you go ahead and call your ex, and then of course the next day you regret it. And here's why I think this is important. When you look at behavior that people engage in when they drink, especially if it's more deviant behavior. Take rape, for example. The justification people gave afterwards oftentimes is, alcohol made me do that. And the reality is, no, what alcohol does is it allows you to do what you want to do. Most men don't rape women. Most men don't rape women when they drink. So it's the man who wants to rape someone who does it when he is drunk. And I think that's important because it shifts the responsibility from alcohol making me do something to alcohol allowing me to do something.
What sorts of recommendations would you offer students interested in communication as they take their degrees onto the job market?
The recommendation I consistently give students throughout the years is to do internships. And I specifically recommend that they do them between their sophomore and junior year. And you may not have a lot of skill sets at that point to offer an employer, but even if you're doing sort of minor tasks at a firm or organization, you can observe what people do all day long at work. And is this really the job for you? And you can also ask questions of people such as, what courses do you wish you would have taken in college? Or what courses really helped you the most with your career? And I recommend students starting early with internships in hopes that they'll be able to do 2 or even maybe 3 before they graduate. For me personally, I was on my 3rd internship with a research firm before I finally said, this is what I'd like to do when I graduate. And I've noticed that students of mine who do internships early oftentimes are more focused with their academics when they come back, and they are more targeted and oftentimes get better jobs after graduating. And I think at the end of the day, it's the combination of the degree and the experience that helps students focus on a career path that they're going to enjoy.